Hey everyone, Kevin here, back with another video. Today, we will imagine that you have submitted for your desired position and you have received a callback from the company you applied to. They state that they are impressed with your resume and would like to schedule an interview. Now, whether you are hit with excitement or fear, the mission of today's video is to arm you with tips and tricks to ace all aspects of the interview process and put you in position to get that first cybersecurity job. But before we begin, a little about me. I have over 15 years of experience in information technology and cybersecurity. I have worked a wide gamut of positions, including PC technician, systems administration, IT management, cyber analyst, cyber consultant, and solutions architect. I've also performed some teaching in the field of cybersecurity, and my aim is to help you get into the field of cybersecurity by sharing what I've learned over the years. But before we dive into today's topic, please consider liking this video, sharing it with others, and subscribing, as I'll be releasing new content on a regular basis, and I don't want you to miss out on the latest video. And with that out of the way, let's get after it. So before we begin, I want to start off with a disclaimer. The tips that I share are definitely not the end-all be-all. Rather, these are tools and techniques that have worked for me and others. They are actions that were given to me by the career services departments of the colleges where I obtained my associate's and bachelor's degrees. Now that would be Remington College and ITT Technical Institute, respectively. The information provided to me was golden, and I want to share what I learned with you. All right, so you're on the phone with the recruiter and they want to get you in for an interview. When exactly should you schedule it? In my opinion, as soon as possible, while allowing enough time for preparation. Speaking from experience, companies want to fill their positions as soon as possible, and time is of the essence to find the best possible candidate in the shortest amount of time. So it is crucial, and I can't stress that enough. It is absolutely critical that you take the earliest possible slot. Now, this serves two purposes. One, it puts you ahead of the competition to make that important first impression and to set the standards for others to hopefully not be able to surpass. Remember, you're not the only person going after this position. It may be one other person interviewing. It may be 5, 10, 20. You get the idea. It's multiple candidates that may be applying for the position. And the later that you apply, the more likely it is that you'll get lost in the shuffle. So you want to get in first, make that first impression. You really want to set the pace. The second reason is to demonstrate to the employer that you possess not only the skills required, but the confidence that you're the right person for the job. All too often, people shy away from going first when it comes to not only interviews, but presentations, stretch assignments, anything that requires you to stretch outside of your comfort zone. Employers want employees with leadership capabilities. They want employees who are not afraid to stand up and take on tough tasks. In my view, by taking the first available interview slot and crushing that interview, you not only demonstrate that you have the technical skills necessary to perform the job, but you have the leadership qualities that will serve you and the company well down the road. Okay, so the interview is scheduled and now it's time to prepare. Now for my interviews, I prepared in the following areas: company research, possible interview questions, both soft skills and technical questions, as well as preparing for a traditional interview versus a panel interview. You also need to be prepared for simulations. Make sure you have your portfolio together for face-to-face interviews. Make sure that you're properly groomed and your interview outfit is nice, clean, and pressed. Also be prepared to perform a drive-by for face-to-face interviews, as well as do technology tests for Zoom calls or phone interviews. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into these individual sections, starting off with company research. In my opinion, it's always a good practice to do some research on the company. You want to learn about their history, how they came into prominence, any nuggets you can use during the course of the interview. And the purpose of this is twofold. One, to make sure the company's ideals and morals match your own. I mean, you definitely don't want to work for a company who goes against your character. The second is to use the interesting facts found during the course of the interview. Again, it's all about making an impression, getting that interviewer to remember you. A good way for you to make that impression is to show them that you're willing to go the extra mile and learn about the company's history and relate it to you somehow. Also, if you have the name of the interviewer, look him or her up on LinkedIn. Look for interesting facts you can possibly bring up over the course of the interview. Now, I'm not saying in a stalkerish type of way, but in a manner that conveys that you did your homework. Also, use these areas to come up with questions for the interviewer when the time comes. And yes, you definitely want to have questions for the interviewer when that time comes. Next up, interview questions. This goes without saying. Obtaining possible soft and technical skills will give you the edge. The job posting will give you an idea of the types of questions you may be in for. Remember, Google is your friend. Use it to get a solid bank of possible interview questions and practice your responses. I will do another video on possible interview questions, but as a primer, be prepared for questions that focus on your approach to work. Do you like to work alone or in a group? Tell me how you resolve the difficult situation. Now, on the technical side, be prepared for questions that typical employees should be aware of. In the realm of cyber, you may get general cyber questions such as, what does your home lab look like? What do you understand about risks, threats, and vulnerabilities? Describe different types of attacks, such as distributed denial of service attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, SQL injection, and how do you defend against them? Those are the types of questions. And then prepare for questions specific to the job you're applying for. Again, use the job posting to gain insight on possible questions. Another thing to consider is the type of interview you may have. Will it be a phone interview or face-to-face? Will it be an interview with one person or a panel of interviewers? In each case, there are considerations. For example, in phone interviews, you lose the chance to impress via eye contact, a firm handshake, and an overall projection of confidence from a physical perspective. Now, to compensate, use confident voice inflection and really hammer home your mastery of the knowledge discussed in your responses. Another example would be a face-to-face panel interviews. I know few people really like these, and the way I would approach these is to make sure you keep track of each interviewer's name, use eye contact to mainly speak to the person asking the question, while periodically looking at the other interviewers as you give your response. Think of it as like you're giving a speech, and you have to spread the eye contact around to keep people in the audience to project the notion that you're speaking to everyone. I mentioned simulations. When I was a manager performing interviews, I absolutely loved these. Anyone can say they're knowledgeable and can perform the job, but it's another thing to actually demonstrate it. A quick story, and I realized that, yes, it's IT and not necessarily cyber, but bear with me. When I would interview for PC tech positions, I would create scenarios that would put the candidate in a high-pressure situation. A member of senior leadership would be given a presentation in a conference room in front of the CEO and stakeholders in 15 minutes. The conference room machine was just updated and is now malfunctioning. This particular member of senior leadership, played by me, is especially stressed and needs your help to get the computer working, his presentation loaded, and ready before the boss shows up. This is a situation that I was constantly in early in my career, and it really takes courage, knowledge, and a plan to get through it. The scenario itself will have about 3 different items that would need to be addressed. That would be nothing radically out of the ordinary, but it's something to be said about having a really nervous senior leader over your shoulder, clock watching, and pestering you with questions while you do your best to resolve the issue. In my view, the point of the simulation is not to get through it. Rather, it will demonstrate the candidate's knowledge and how he or she would react under pressure, as well as I would evaluate their behavior after the exercise was concluded. All kinds of insight can be gained here by the interviewer, so be prepared for these. Next up is portfolios. Used for face-to-face interviews, these are your brag books. Now, I understand in many aspects of your career, humility will go a long way in garnering respect and admiration. The interview is not a place for complete humility. Now, don't get me wrong, don't go into an interview being arrogant and cocky. Rather, you would like to project confidence and sureness. One of the tools that can be used to convey that confidence is your portfolio. The packet, which can be in a 3-ring binder or some sort of notebook, will contain the following: 2 to 3 copies of your resume, printed on resume paper without any errors. If you graduated from college, it would include your transcripts, copies of your certifications if you have any awards, letters of recommendation, kudos letters, samples of your work, anything that will show that you're the best employee for the job. Most other candidates don't present these. Being able to produce this and lay it in front of the interviewer will speak volumes. The key is getting them to flip through it and make sure they acknowledge your accomplishments. Portfolios did wonders for my career. I highly recommend you make these for your interviews. Another item that should be a no-brainer when it comes to interviews, but you'll be surprised, is making sure that you're properly groomed. That means making sure your hair is appropriately styled, hygiene issues are addressed, and in terms of dress one level higher than the work attire for the organization. Either that or just wear a suit. You can't go wrong with a sharp business suit. Another area of preparation is making sure you know how to get to the business for a face-to-face interview. You want to arrive by the site the day before the interview, preferably at the time you would leave for the interview, if at all possible, to make sure you know how to get there and are able to gauge what the traffic will be like the day of the interview. And on that day, arrive 15 minutes early. Leave absolutely nothing to chance and do your best not to be late. My philosophy is this: if you arrive 15 minutes early for an interview, you're on time. If you arrive on time for the interview, you're late. And if you're late to the interview, unless you have a really good excuse, don't even bother showing up. If your interview is in a Zoom or phone interview format, make sure your technology is working. For Zoom, make sure your internet is working properly. Make any test calls with Zoom to ensure functionality. If you're using a cell phone, make sure that it's working properly and is fully charged. Leave nothing to chance, and you want to make sure that your technology is working. On the day of the interview, as you're walking into the building, assume that you're being evaluated from the moment you arrive until the moment you leave. Maintain your professionalism. Greet everyone with a smile and a firm handshake. Walk in with confidence. If you encounter a secretary, treat this person with the utmost respect, for this person is the gatekeeper and can make or break your interview. And once you're in front of the interviewer, again, firm handshake, eye contact. All of the preparation has come down to this. You're ready. You're prepared. Let's make it happen. And once everything is concluded, the final recommended actions are to follow up with a thank you email to the interviewer for the time taken to speak with you. Use this email to restate your skills and attributes. And another recommended action would be to follow up with another phone call in a week to check on the status. This reaffirms to the interviewer that you are interested in the position, and you'll be amazed how few candidates actually follow up with another phone call. After this, it's in the hands of the company. If you performed well during your interview, you should have a good chance of either getting that second interview or the call that says you've been chosen. And that's it. If you follow the outlined steps and recommendations, you should have a great chance in landing that cyber job. Now, if you found this video to be helpful, please like it and share it with others. And also, please consider subscribing, as your support would definitely help this channel to grow and help me to help others to get into the field of cybersecurity. Until next time, this is Kevin. Take care.